Hi, I'm Jude from headfi.org, and this is the CanJam at Rocky Mountain Audio Fest 2017 preview. The 2017 Rocky Mountain Audio Fest takes place October 6th through October 8th, 2017 at the Denver Marriott Tech Center Hotel in Denver. Okay, there are several new products scattered throughout this video that you have not seen before. And because of all the new gear, this episode is a long one. Now, this year's CanJam at RMAF will have more exhibitors than any other CanJam at RMAF before it, and it has more new product announcements than any CanJam in recent memory. Before we get to the gear, I wanted to let you know that we finalized the CanJam Global event schedule for 2018. Take a look at the CanJam locations and dates for next year, and please plan on joining us at the one nearest you or the one farthest from you if you like traveling to faraway places. We've got a lot to show you, so let's get right to it. Let's start this CanJam preview off with a bang by starting it off with this. This is the new Folkal Clear, and it's part of the flagship line of Folkal headphones that currently includes the Folkal Iliar and the Folkal Utopia. Now, you can imagine I'm chomping at the bit to tell you everything I can about the new Clear, but I can't just yet. The official launch date is still about a week away, and I've been asked to tell you little more than it's going to be there. Here's what I can tell you about it now. I love it. A lot. The Folkal Clear was perfectly cast to play the role of the model between the Iliar and the Utopia in terms of price, in terms of performance. I can also say without hesitation that it's almost certainly going to be immensely popular and so probably immensely backordered too. I promise you this is not an intentional tease. Again, we're limited about what we can say because the official launch date for the Folkal Clear is still about a week away. Then you can bet I'll have a lot more to say, including a dedicated episode of HeadFi TV about it. Now let's talk about those Folkal products that'll also be at CanJam that I'm allowed to talk about. At CanJam at RMAF, Folkal will of course be showing their first two flagships, the Iliar and Utopia. Both of those are still immensely popular. Hey, stop staring at this. I told you, we'll post a dedicated video and a lot more information about the Folkal Clear when it launches. And of course, you can hear it for yourself at CanJam at RMAF. That's the whole point of this video, but we have to move on to the other Folkal gear now. Now, as I was saying, the Iliar and Utopia are still very popular, and still a lot of you haven't had a chance to hear them. If you haven't, make sure to do so in Denver. Folkal will also have its new products from their more affordable lines, like the new Folkal Listen Wireless, which is an aptX-enabled Bluetooth headphone, a very good wireless headphone with sound similar to its wired Listen sibling, and look for the new Spark and Spark wireless in-ear monitors too. I've just given you a bunch of reasons to stop by Folkal's exhibit at CanJam at Rocky Mountain Audio Fest 2017, so make sure you do just that to check out their entire line. Sennheiser will be at CanJam at RMAF 2017. Perhaps I should be saying, of course Sennheiser will be there. They've been at every single CanJam we've ever done, and I'm glad they're coming back again. Anyway, I expect they'll have much of their current line there. This is the new Sennheiser HDV820, which Sennheiser is calling their next generation headphone amplifier. It's actually a DAC amp combo. Now, it's no doubt clearly informed by the HDVD800 that came before it, but several key improvements have been made. The analog section's been refined, resulting in improved signal separation and reduced total harmonic distortion. However, it was the digital to analog converter section that has had the most major refinements and improvements. It'll play PCM up to 32,384 and DSD up to 12.3 megahertz. The HDV820 is a gorgeous sounding pairing with any of Sennheiser's high impedance premium headphones, like the Sennheiser HD650, the Sennheiser HD800, and the Sennheiser HD800S. For balanced outputs, there's a single 4-pin XLR headphone output, as well as two Pentacon 4.4mm 5-pole balanced outputs. The Pentacon connector is the new JTA standard for balanced headphone connections. It was developed and proposed by Sony. Now, in my opinion, Pentacon is a superior connector to the tiny 2.5mm connectors that many portable devices use for balance today. And yet it's robust enough in terms of durability and its electrical characteristics to also be used for desktop components. Sony, Acoustic Research, Sennheiser, and an increasing number of companies are adopting Pentacon as a balanced standard. We at HeadFi HQ hope to see it as the go-to connector for balanced headphone outs on devices, portable, and desktop. Earlier I mentioned the Sennheiser HD650, HD800, and HD800S, and of course you'll be able to hear all three of those at Sennheiser's exhibit. Now, given the popularity of those headphones, I mean, they are all standards in headphone hi-fi. I'm sure you'll also be able to hear them at other CanJam exhibits. Sennheiser will also have some of its more affordable headphones there, so expect to see headphones in the 500 series line, like this Sennheiser HD569. This is a wonderful, affordable closed-back headphone. Given its performance for the price, I'm actually very surprised that the 569 isn't talked about more in the community. It's one of those closed headphone options that you should put on your list when you're shopping for headphones like the ATH M50X. At IFA last month, Sennheiser showed the new IE80S dynamic driver in-ear monitor from its audiophile line. It's a refinement to the previous Sennheiser IE80, but has been restyled, and it also has a new housing design and comes with a new selection of ear tips that together lead to improved acoustics. Now, like the IE80 before it and the IE8 long before it, the new Sennheiser IE80S offers bass that can be adjusted by a small set screw in each earpiece and includes a tool for that. Now, this is a rich-sounding IEM described by Sennheiser as a smooth U-shaped sound with a balanced bass and treble. Now, I've been enjoying the richer tone of the IE80S. Its bass gives me some sense of the room gain compensation transfer function that seems to be one of the trends from research being done in the pursuit of headphone target curves. Finally, Sennheiser is going to be showing their upcoming Ambio Smart headset. This is a groovy product. The Ambio Smart headset is actually a very nice set of earphones just to listen to music through, yet each earpiece comes with a microphone on the outside positioned to pick up sound similar to how your ears would. Yes, the Ambio Smart headset is a very nice set of Sennheiser earphones that just happen to enable capturing sound in 3D. You can now make your own binaural audio and video recordings. The Ambio Smart headset also allows the microphones to be used to adjust the mix between what you're listening to and the world around you, a feature that they're calling situational awareness. The Ambio Smart headset comes terminated with an MFI certified Lightning connector for use with Apple iOS devices, and an Android version is coming later. There's also a mobile phone app designed for it, but I haven't been able to get my hands on that app yet, and I can't wait to see how it optimizes the Ambio Smart headset's functionality. Even without the app, I've been able to capture out-of-head 3D sound using my iPhone's camera app to record video. Again, the Sennheiser Ambio Smart headset is very, very groovy, so make sure to give it a demo at CanJam RMAF. Anyway, Sennheiser will have all the products we talked about and more, I'm sure, so make sure to visit their exhibit at CanJam RMAF 2017. At CanJam RMAF, Odyssey will be previewing a brand new headphone model. It's called the Odyssey LCD MX4, and internally it shares a lot in common with their amazing flagship LCD4, but with a slightly different film for the diaphragm and more drive efficiency. In essence, then, it's like an LCD4 variant built for use in studios and settings where one isn't likely to have a powerful high-end headphone amp available. Externally, it's very different from the LCD4. I do love the look of the traditional LCD headphones, but this new magnesium chassis on the LCD MX4 looks gorgeous. It's a refreshing change to me. To me, it looks the part of a high-end studio monitor, gorgeous yet utilitarian, a professional tool. And it's way lighter than the LCD4, around 200 grams lighter. Its weight and design put it well within my long-term listening comfort zone. I can wear the LCD MX4 for hours with no discomfort. This Odyssey LCD MX4 does give you some sense of the LCD4's magic, but with much more versatility in terms of what you can drive it with. Make sure to check out the new Odyssey LCD MX4 at CanJam RMAF and listen to what has to be one of the ultimate studio monitor headphones, period. Odyssey will also be showing their now immensely popular line of semi-open in-ear monitors. They're popular because they provide so much of what you get from full-size planars, but in a pocketable size. They accomplish this with their 30mm planar magnetic drivers. These are huge drivers for in-ears, and they neck the sound down into your canals using some very innovative waveguides. The sound from these Odyssey IEMs is open and airy, highly resolving. It's no wonder the iSign 10 and the iSign 20 are so popular. If you like this form factor but you want to take it to LCD4 levels of resolution, consider the flagship Odyssey in-ear, the Odyssey LCD i4. The LCD i4 provides phenomenal levels of resolution and performance that scale seemingly endlessly in better rigs. It's the closest you're going to get to the LCD4 in your pocket. You must hear Odyssey's in-ears if you haven't already. Finally, Odyssey will be showing off their recent Roon integration. Roon has become my music software of choice for its performance, for its wonderful user experience, and for how it integrates Tidal with my library as if I own the millions of albums in Tidal's catalog. Anyway, Odyssey worked with Roon to include custom DSP settings for all of Odyssey's currently available headphones. These settings were carefully crafted by the engineers at Odyssey to optimize the sound and presentation of Odyssey's headphones when using Roon. I love how forward-thinking both Odyssey and Roon have been in making this productive, cool collaboration happen, especially as someone who so frequently uses both Roon and Odyssey products. Anyway, make sure to check out Odyssey's exhibit to hear everything we just talked about and plenty more. With the release of the AK100 and AK120 several years ago, Astell&Kern redefined the market for premium portable digital audio players in terms of audio performance and in terms of design. Releasing flagships along the way like the AK240 and AK380, Astell&Kern raised the bar each time. Their latest flagship, the Astell&Kern AN Ultima SP1000, does it again. Now, one of the shortcomings of most dedicated digital audio players is responsiveness or lack of it. Now, while Astell&Kern has made some of the most responsive players, the SP1000's octa-core CPU helps propel the user interface to the quickest I've yet experienced from a dedicated premium player. Even after being completely powered down, the SP1000 startup time is mere seconds. I think that's very, very cool and important, as that kind of speed doesn't discourage a complete shutdown to save battery life the way the very long startup times of some players can. The AN Ultima SP1000 also sports a beautiful 5-inch screen, which is much larger than the AK380s and among the largest of the dedicated players available today. Other improvements include the use of USB 3.0, which allows significantly faster data transfer, and that's important when we're talking about 256 gigs of internal storage plus a microSD card slot. It also has fast charge, and it also has improved Wi-Fi with the new omnidirectional antenna design. The SP1000 is available in two versions, one with a solid stainless steel chassis and one with a solid copper chassis. Of course, and most importantly though, the SP1000 sounds incredible. Like all Astell&Kern players, it's dead quiet with my most sensitive in-ears, yet its higher max output allows it to drive most of the headphones I want to use with it. The SP1000's audio performance was improved with an upgraded DAC section. Astell&Kern opted for two of AKM's new flagship AK4497 EQ DACs in a dual DAC configuration. The SP1000 also offers increased output with nearly double the max output of their previous flagship AK380. Simply stated, the Astell&Kern AN Ultima SP1000 is an incredible new flagship player. Another brand new player that Astell&Kern just announced is the AK70 Mark II. The first generation AK70 has been very popular for its compactness, for its reasonable price, and of course for its sound. The new AK70 Mark II offers several key improvements, including going to a dual DAC configuration. The new AK70 Mark II uses two Cirrus Logic CS4398 DACs. The first generation AK70 used one. And all of the measured audio specs are better on the new AK70 Mark II. Max output has gone up from 2.5 volts RMS to 4 volts RMS, and that's a major boost in max output. I should also mention that Astell&Kern increased the battery capacity from 2200 milliamp hours to 2500 milliamp hours. Like all current generation Astell&Kern players, the AK70 Mark II supports Bluetooth with aptX HD. This for me is massive, as my experience with aptX HD so far has been outstanding with headphones like the Audio-Technica ATH DSR9BT. Of course, in addition to the two new players I just mentioned, Astell&Kern will have its full lineup of other players on exhibit. Also on exhibit will be the new Astell&Kern Michelle limited in-ear monitor, produced in Korea and jointly developed with JH Audio. They'll also be showing their next generation AK CD Ripper Mark II, designed to provide accurate error-free CD ripping. Make sure to visit Astell&Kern's exhibit to see and hear all of this at CanJam RMAF 2017. And now we come to another brand new headphone, one you'll have the first chance to listen to at CanJam RMAF this year. At the show, Mr. Speakers will be unveiling the new Aeon Flow Open headphone, and it's just ridiculously good, exceptional, and affordable. Mr. Speakers always sets out to compete with the very best headphones in the world, but at prices that are relatively accessible, or in the case of the Aeon, actually quite affordable in its class. But when the headphones you're making already represent some of the best performance to price headphones available, you may eventually run into the conundrum of facing yourself as your primary competitor. Dan Clark of Mr. Speakers knows this position all too well. When they released the first Aeon, which is a closed-back model and will now be called the Aeon Flow Closed, when they released that first Aeon, their flagship closed-back, the Ether C Flow, was among the most likely victims of any Aeon Flow Closed success. The result? Some preferred the Aeon Flow Closed sound to the Ether C Flows. For me, though, the Ether C Flow still edged it out. But with today's revealing of the Aeon Flow Open, Dan Clark once again puts not just other companies' products in the crosshairs, but his own again. And in the sights this time is perhaps his most popular headphone ever, the Open Back Ether Flow, his flagship Open Back. And this time, for my taste, I'm not actually sure which I prefer between the Aeon Flow Open and the Ether Flow. Like the Aeon Flow Closed, the new Aeon Flow Open uses Mr. Speaker's V-planar and TrueFlow driver technologies to increase resolution and reduce distortion. I haven't measured these yet, but I've so far been able to count on Mr. Speakers to deliver very low distortion, and I expect I'll find the same with these when I do measure them. The closed-back Aeon was open-sounding for a closed-back headphone, and the Aeon Flow Open is open-sounding for an open-back headphone and has more naturally wide imaging and a significantly better sense of air. Its frequency response is beautiful, this pre-production unit here having big extended bass for an open back and smoother mids than its closed back sibling. Perhaps owing to the open back nature and the driver's ability to breathe more freely, the mids and highs from the Aeon Flow Open seem more resolving too. Again, at this time, I'm not sure if I prefer the Aeon Flow Open or the Ether Flow. I've been recommending the Ether Flow to anyone who wants strong value for under $2,000. What does that say about this new Aeon Flow Open then? Again, that it's ridiculously good, that it's outstanding, that it's affordable. Kudos to Dan Clark and his team for delivering this level of sound and comfort for the modest price they're asking for it. Mr. Speakers will also be showing the latest pre-production version of their upcoming electrostatic headphone, tentatively still named the E3ES. Now, the E3ES gets more impressive at every show I hear it, and I want to see how it matches up with the Stax SR007. Anyway, make sure to stop by Mr. Speakers' exhibit to hear the Ethers and the new Aeons at CanJam at RMAF. Beyerdynamic has been around a long time, 93 years this year, and their role in the history of headphone audio may be more monumental than you know. I believe their DT48 headphones were the first dynamic headphones on the market in 1937. That's 80 years ago. Perhaps it's due in part to this long history, but for as far back as I can remember, Beyerdynamic has struck me as among the most traditional of the major audiophile headphone makers. Well, until recently anyway, because for the last couple of years, they've shown themselves to be a far more progressive, more forward-thinking Beyerdynamic, and I like what I'm hearing and seeing from them. To be clear, Beyerdynamic is still making their classics. I don't imagine the studio standards like the DT770 Pro are going anywhere soon, and the flagship Tesla models like the T1 second generation and the T5P second generation, they're still popular. So would I have expected that Beyerdynamic would be one of the first high-end headphone companies to make aptX HD-enabled Bluetooth headphones, and that one of them would be the best-sounding Bluetooth headphone I've yet heard? And would I have ever expected Beyerdynamic to say, the future of audio transmission will be free from wires? The answer to those questions is obviously no, but that's just what they've done. At CanJam at RMAF, they'll be showing the new Beyerdynamic Xylento Wireless. Pair the Xylento Wireless with an aptX HD-enabled device like Astell&Kern's current line of portable players, and you're not going to believe you're listening over Bluetooth. It's now the best-sounding Bluetooth headphone I've yet heard. And on top of the truly impressive wireless fidelity, the Xylento Wireless offers a level of in-ear fit, comfort, and ergonomics that's easily among the best in the industry. Its oval profile, super supple silicone Darth Vader helmet-looking ear tips, they feel like they disappear in my ears. By the way, the Xylento Wireless also comes with a standard cable in case you run past the 5-hour runtime of the wireless module, or for when you want fully wired fidelity. Anyway, the Beyerdynamic Xylento Wireless is one of the must-hear new products at CanJam. Beyerdynamic will also be showing their new Aventho wireless on-ear headphone. Though the Aventho wireless is styled rather like the popular Beyerdynamic T51i, the Aventho wireless's color, build, and design make it one of the most stylish-looking headphones out there right now, in my opinion. I love the colors, I love the coin edge detailing on the ear cups. It's just a beautiful headphone. But it's more than pretty. The Aventho wireless also comes equipped with Bluetooth 4.2 and aptX HD. Yes, a second brand new aptX HD enabled headphone from Beyerdynamic at CanJam. The Aventho will also offer an app that allows advanced sound personalization with settings stored in the headphone, but I don't have the details or the app for that yet. But even without the audio personalization, just used as a straight aptX HD enabled wireless headphone, the Aventho Wireless is a superb on-ear headphone, period. Though I haven't done a head-to-head with the Beyerdynamic T51i, the Aventho Wireless does bring that headphone to mind. It's early days here with the Aventho Wireless. We just received it, but I'm really enjoying it so far. If you're an iPhone or iPad owner who has the Beyerdynamic T1 second generation, the T5P second generation, or the Amaron Home, Beyerdynamic has an exciting new product for you that they'll be showing at CanJam called the Impacto Universal. It's a digital to analog converter and a headphone cable that's compatible with the headphones I just mentioned. The Impacto Universal's DAC will decode PCM up to 24192 and DSD up to 5.6 MHz. The integrated headphone amp was designed to drive anything from the low impedance load of the T5P second generation to the higher impedance Amaron Home and the very high impedance T1 second generation. Like the Impacto Essential before it, the Impacto Universal will also work with Android, Windows, and Mac OS. Finally, Beyerdynamic completely surprised us when they sent us a new affordable Beyerdynamic headphone model that I'd not seen a word about anywhere previously. And Beyerdynamic did not include any information or literature describing the headphone, by the way, just the headphone in a generic white box, so I'm guessing it's your first time seeing it too. It's called the Beyerdynamic DT240 Pro. Now, because it arrived so late into our shooting schedule, I've only had very little time with it. First impressions, I'd call the DT240 Pro a small form factor closed-back studio monitor that's very competitive with, and actually more neutral than, several of the popular and affordable studio monitor headphones most commonly recommended today. Anyway, definitely make sure not to miss Beyerdynamic's exhibit at CanJam at RMAF 2017 to hear all of this and more. Lenbrook will be exhibiting at CanJam at RMAF this year, including their two brands most popular with headfires, PSB and NAD. Now, we're about to show you some headphones from PSB and NAD that haven't been seen before. They'll have these for you to preview at CanJam, two of which incorporate room field technology developed by renowned acoustics designer and founder of PSB loudspeakers, Paul Barton. Room feel is based on the following premise: that headphones should sound like a pair of flat measuring full-range loudspeakers properly set up in a good room. That's a one-sentence way of describing something informed by decades of research at Canada's National Research Council, the NRC, and that's also where Paul Barton has done much of his loudspeaker development research for over 4 decades. Joe and I visited the NRC with Paul last year, where he involved a group of us in blind listening tests as part of further research that he's doing in his ongoing work on headphone target response curves. Simply put, according to Paul, if you take a direct radiating speaker that measures flat in an anechoic chamber, and if you put that in a room, you'll find that it'll have a significantly warmer sound than in the anechoic chamber. This happens because as frequency gets lower, the speakers radiate more omnidirectionally, and therefore the sound's low frequency content in the room as a whole gets stronger. The catch with headphones is there's obviously no room involved, and so there's no room response. Room feel endeavors to take into consideration low frequency room gain and a number of other characteristics of a speaker's sound in a room that would otherwise be lost with headphones, and then to incorporate that into the headphones. It's fascinating stuff, and I can talk to Paul for hours about this stuff, and sometimes we do. And by the way, Paul Barton is also the man who, a few years ago, strongly encouraged us to build an audio measurement lab here at HeadFi HQ, and we've done that, and he continues to be one of my headphone measurement mentors. Okay, why am I going over all this now? It's because room feel is an important concept that informs almost every headphone that Paul Barton has engineered, including 2 of the 3 that they're previewing at CanJam at RMAF. And also because headphone target response curves are a hot and necessary topic right now. Anyway, let's get to those new headphones. PSB previewed the M4U8 headphones at CES earlier this year, and it's going to be the new flagship headphone in the PSB headphone line when it arrives. The M4U8 can be used both wired and wirelessly via Bluetooth, including aptX HD, which I'm very, very happy about. The M4U8 has 3 modes of operation: passive, active, and active with noise cancellation. It's in its active modes that room feel is optimized, and it may be in this headphone and its NAD sibling, which I'll get to shortly, that room feel has sounded most natural to me. The M4U8 uses 4 microphones for ANC and for phone calls, but also for a listen-through mode that you can activate to pipe in outside sound from the mics without having to remove the headphones. The M4U8's sound quality is superb. The use of aptX HD helps maintain outstanding wireless fidelity. Now, either the M4U8 or its NAD counterpart will likely take its place as one of my primary office headphones, especially in the lab area to cancel the measurement gear fan noise. And I'll try it for travel too to see how effective its noise-canceling circuit is on airplanes. The M4U8's NAD counterpart is the NAD VISO HP70, and this is its first public appearance. The VISO HP70's underpinning technology is very similar to the M4U8. Not identical, but definitely close enough to consider the 2 pretty much fraternal twins. Now, just about everything I said about the M4U8 then is also true with the VISO HP70. What's the difference then? The headphone is a bit lighter than the M4U8, and it's also styled more conventionally. Dr. Floyd Toole is a man whose research has perhaps defined the research on loudspeakers and listeners' perception of loudspeaker sound quality. He's also a man with whom Paul Barton has worked. Anyway, Dr. Toole said, "Frequency response is the single most important aspect of the performance of any audio device. If it is wrong, nothing else matters." Now, of course, there are other factors that contribute to total sound quality, but if the frequency response is not where you want it to be, it'll be difficult to make up for that. Paul Barton's room feel target headphone response curve is just about where my headphone frequency response tastes have shifted over the past several years. And as room feel is better engineered into their headphones, they increasingly appeal to me. Listen to the PSB M4U8 and the NAD VISO HP70 to hear Paul Barton's room feel target at its current best. One more preview headphone they'll have at their exhibit are these little Bluetooth earphones. It's called the PSB M4U TW1, the TW standing for True Wireless. This one I had no idea about until it arrived, so it was a big surprise to me. As its name suggests, the TW1 is of the increasingly popular totally wireless variety. That means no wires between the earpieces. These earphones are good for about 5 hours of playtime per charge, and while the truly wireless market is still nascent, I haven't heard better in that category than these. By the way, I think this red color is just for the prototype. The actual shipping color, I believe, will be black. Anyway, make sure to visit Len Brook's exhibit, especially to hear room feel better implemented than ever before in the PSB M4U8 and the NAD VISO HP70. Audio Precision will be at Rocky Mountain Audio Fest, and since Dan Foley from Audio Precision happens to be visiting us right now here at HeadFi HQ, I'm going to let Dan, who's been one of my audio measurement mentors for the last 2 years, tell you what Audio Precision's doing at Rocky Mountain Audio Fest.
Thanks, Jude. At RMAF, AP is going to be in room 3014. We're going to have 2 audio test stations available. One of them is utilizing the APX 555 analyzer for testing electronic products, whether they are purely analog or headphone DACs. We're going to have a second test station for electroacoustic testing utilizing the APX 1701 transducer test interface. the APX 515 analyzer, and we are very proud to be showing the new AEC M206 headphone test fixture. Thanks for watching, and we look forward to meeting with you at RMAF.
Abyss headphones will be at CanJam at RMAF, and they'll have the updated version of their AB1266 called the AB1266-5. Now, the Abyss AB1266-5 maintains the original's unique magnetic assembly. This planar magnetic driver assembly uses a single large magnet cut to shape and precisely slotted for each channel. Other planar magnetic headphones use bar magnets. Now, with the updates in the AB1266-5, Joe Skubinski from Abyss says they dramatically increased the field line contrast, allowing for greater accuracy in relation to the driven trace pattern. He says they reduced microphase distortions on the planar surface to vanishingly low levels, and they fine-tune acoustics without the need for absorption. So much about this headphone is extreme. That foam you see under the grill, that's not normal foam, that's foamed aluminum. You see, Abyss puts the magnet on the ear side to prevent back reflections. The foamed aluminum allows the sound to escape from the back while protecting the driver. It diffuses the upper frequencies and has some damping for the lows. Other than that, the carefully engineered driver requires no further damping. There's no damping material in the AB1266-5 in any traditional sense. The AB1266-5 carries on the tradition set by the original AB1266 as one of the most visceral, most physical sounding headphones we have here. And it does this with a more deft, delicate touch than the original, by the way. The sense of realism and imaging when listening to Chesky's binaural recordings, for which I was present during the recordings, I don't think any headphone more convincingly puts me physically back in the charged acoustic of the studio the way the AB1266-5 does. It's incredible this way. Is the Abyss headphones AB1266-5 one of the best headphones on the market right now? To my ears, without a doubt. Abyss headphones will also have their planar magnetic Diana headphones available to listen to publicly in production voice trim for the very first time. Now, I haven't heard the Diana yet, so this is among the top items on my personal must-hear list for the show. As I said earlier, the AB1266-5 is extreme in every way, including its appearance, which I think makes it an indoor headphone. Diana is intended to be more stylish, something you can get the Abyss sound from, but be able to wear out and about. Now, Diana's chassis is made from aircraft-grade aluminum, and it's much lighter than the AB1266-5. Now, we Abyss fans have been waiting for quite some time for the Diana, so look forward to CanJam. I imagine Abyss headphones will be driving their AB1266-5s and Dianas with the Formula S headphone amp by 11 Audio. We have a prototype of the Formula S that was sent to us after CanJam SoCal this year. They'll have the final versions at CanJam at RMAF. Now, when you hear the Formula S amp, you'll probably find yourself looking it over to find out what kind of vacuum tubes it uses. You won't find any tubes, though, because it's a full Class A solid-state design that'll output 2.1 watts into 46 ohms. The Formula S is a beautifully smooth-sounding amp, and I can understand why Joe Skubinski picked up the 11 Audio line. Definitely make a point to stop by Abyss headphones to hear the AB1266-5, the Diana as she makes her production voicing debut, and the 11 Audio Formula S amp at CanJam at RMAF 2017. Shit Audio will be at CanJam at RMAF, and they've got so many fans in this community that you all probably already know how deep their product line is getting. Expect them to have all of what they make that's related to headphone audio in the CanJam portion of RMAF. As for their loudspeaker driving gear, look for that in their main show exhibit. We obviously don't have time to go through their full line, but let's go over a few new Shit Audio products, starting with the most normal one and then moving to the increasingly eccentric. Shit Audio very recently announced the latest version of their very popular Magni headphone amp called the Magni 3. The Magni 3 is a fully discrete, exotic topology, current feedback, all linear power supply headphone amp and preamp that drives 2 watts per channel into 32 ohms, and for only $99. It was designed by Shit to be able to drive anything from IEMs to hard-to-drive planar magnetic headphones, and in case you missed that earlier, it's only $99. Off the top of my head, I can't think of a stronger value in headphone amps than the Shit Magni 3. Getting a bit more unusual at least in the hi-fi world, Shit Audio also just announced a 4-band equalizer called the Loki Mini. We posted a Head-Fi TV episode just a few days ago that gives you more information about the Loki Mini. Please watch it if you haven't already to understand why this isn't your father's cheap rack system equalizer. The Shit Audio Loki Mini uses a fully discrete, all-bipolar, symmetrical current feedback design with no capacitors in the signal path and DC servo. For filtering, there's a capacitor gyrator for the 20 Hz control and capacitor inductor, or LC, for the other 3 bands. The 4 band adjustments are 20 Hz, 400 Hz, 2 kHz, and 8 kHz. How do you use it? You put the Loki Mini in your system, you adjust the controls until your music sounds best to you. It's that simple. Again, watch our Loki Mini video posted just a few days ago to find out more, and visit Shit Audio's exhibit to give it a try. Finally, Schiit Audio will also have what is one of the most unconventional hi-fi products in quite some time, maybe ever. Mike Moffat of Schiit Audio, who goes by Balder on our forums, has been discussing, more like hinting at from time to time, a product that he's been working on for years in Schiit Skunkworks that he codenamed the Manhattan Project. A couple of weeks ago, he finally provided more details about what the product is, what it does. Schiit Audio is calling it the first musical signal processor, and it's called simply the Gadget. The Gadget is not an equalizer or a tone control. It's a tune control, in that it dynamically retunes music from an assumed A equals 440 Hz tuning to concert pitch or C equals 256 Hz tuning without affecting tempo. Why might one want to do this? Well, according to Mike Moffat, concert pitch is the standard that some of the best instruments of all time were tuned to. Over time, he says, tuning pitch has crept upwards, and the modern standard of A equals 440 Hz is a relatively new phenomenon. He goes over this topic in greater detail in his blog area on the Head5 forums, and it's fascinating reading, so do check it out. To be clear, the Gadget is an infinitely more sophisticated solution than a karaoke-type pitch shift. Schiit Audio hired a full-time mathematics PhD who led the effort to develop new, proprietary, high-quality, efficient code. This project led to the creation of the 100% proprietary algorithm now used in the Gadget. Using it is quite simple. Mike Moffat says you turn the knob, and there is only one knob, until you've adjusted your music to ah mode. Mike says when you reach that mode, it's a sharp point on the adjustment, and when you hit it, you know, and that the sensations it produces are profound. He says in his 50-year audio career, he has never heard anything as right as this. By the way, there's a defeat switch on the Gadget to enable instant A-B comparisons. I actually had a chance to hear one of the far less sophisticated early prototypes of the Gadget about 2 years ago, and it was interesting back then. I haven't heard any version since, and certainly not the far more sophisticated implementation that they're showing now. My first stop at CanJam at RMAF, Schiit Audio's exhibit to play with the Gadget. Mike Moffat will be coming to RMAF, so make sure to talk about this with him, as he's beyond passionate about this topic, and I can't imagine he'll hold much back once you get him started. Fostex will be at CanJam at RMAF. They sent me a list of what they're bringing, and they're bringing a lot of great gear to the show. You'll be able to hear their DAC amp combos like the HPA-8C and the HPA-4BL, and in-ears that I haven't even heard yet myself like the Fostex TE-04. What I want to focus on for this CanJam preview, however, given the limited time we have to do this, are the over-ear headphones that Fostex is showing, including 2 brand new models that I'll get to shortly. The one I want to start with, though, is a headphone that's been out for at least a year. It's grown into my favorite of the currently available Foster biocellulose drivered headphones. I'm talking about the Fostex TH610. Now, one might assume that the TH610 is a spiritual successor to the TH600 that came before it, but you'd be wrong. This is a very different headphone, a departure from the TH600. It has a richer sounding tonal balance with robust bass and meaty mid-range, but maintaining enough sparkle up top to still be a Fostex TH model. It also has among the lowest THD levels of any electrodynamic headphone we've measured so far. Why the TH610 isn't talked about and obsessed over more in this community is a mystery to me, so make sure to hear the Fostex TH610 for yourself at CanJam. Speaking of TH models, Fostex's flagship TH model, the TH900 Mark II, will also be at CanJam at RMAF. Now, the TH900 Mark II has to be one of the most gorgeous headphones ever crafted. Its urushi lacquered cups are made by artisans very specialized in that craft. It's a meticulous and complex process that results in a finish that looks deep, glossy, almost liquid. Now, the finished ear cups look like something you'd find on display in cabinets belonging to the Imperial House of Japan, and no photos I've ever seen capture the beauty of these cups properly. One of the reasons I brought the TH900 up is because, in what was a complete surprise to me, Fostex told me they'll be showing a special version called the TH900 Mark II Emerald Green. I believe it'll be a US limited model, and given my love for beautiful shades of green, I absolutely can't wait to see the TH900 Mark II in this special verdant version of it. And finally, Fostex will be showing another brand new model called the Fostex T60RP. Now, while the latest Mark III versions of the T20RP, T40RP, and T50RP have evolved to more complete, more refined headphones than their predecessors, they're still DIY-er favorites to modify. But to my ears, this Fostex T60RP takes the RP model evolution a significant step further than the previously mentioned Mark III RP models. The T60RP housings are made of African mahogany. Also introduced with the T60RP are ear pads that Fostex calls low repulsion ear pads. These pads are definitely fuller and more comfortable than the other RP model pads, and their angled profile thicker in the back. I'm not sure what else they changed in the T60RP, but it sounds to me like a headphone that personally I'd have a hard time thinking of modifying to change, because it sounds fantastic to me as is. And with its more refined RP signature, I can see the T60RP making its way into studios as a monitoring headphone. Anyway, make sure to set aside some time to visit the Fostex exhibit at CanJam RMAF 2017 because they're going to have a lot for you to hear there. Chord Electronics will be at CanJam at Rocky Mountain Audio Fest, and they'll be showing all of their most popular gear there. The long-awaited Chord Electronics Poly is getting closer and closer to shipping, and for those of you not familiar with the Poly, it's a companion piece for the Chord Mojo. Now, Chord describes the Poly on their website as enabling their very popular Chord Mojo headphone amp DAC as a fully-fledged, high-resolution wireless network music player, streamer, and SD card music playback device with wireless playback and control from smartphones. As I've said before, the Poly is a remarkably sophisticated device, but it's the way that it works with smartphones that most interests me, making my phone with the Mojo Poly combo a true alternative to premium portable digital audio players. Now, when it gets closer to shipping, or when it is actually shipping, we may shoot a dedicated video showing the Mojo Poly combo, the many things it can do, and how I'm using it. Chord will also have their new Hugo 2 DAC amp combo. You can see it comes in silver and black. The Hugo 2 is shipping now, and Chord's making them as fast as they can as the waiting list for the Hugo 2 is growing. Now, of the seemingly countless products released in the premium portable audio world so far this year, the Hugo 2 is, in my experience, among the most impressive in any category, and it would certainly be one of the top candidates, if not the top candidate, for my choice of product of the year so far, and I am certainly not alone in that. If you read the reviews from the increasing number of Hugo 2 owners on the forums, you'll see a level of excitement about the Hugo 2 that's pointing to it being a worthy successor to the predecessor Hugo, over which it's an improvement in every possible regard, in my opinion. Improved sound quality, lower noise floor, better implemented crossfeed, better design, operational and charge modes that make it a better desktop component than the original Hugo, and more. Like I said, it's an improvement in every conceivable way. Now, while the Hugo 2 is more than a stone's throw from the Chord's flagship Dave in terms of performance, it is as close as I've come to the Dave on the go without actually carrying the Dave around with me. By the way, I did that once, backpacking the Dave around Tokyo with me for a weekend, and I don't ever want to do that again. So the truly portable Hugo 2 comes with me just about everywhere now. Speaking of the Chord Dave, it will be at CanJam RMAF, and it remains the current top reference DAC here at HeadFi's office. We've talked about Dave many times since its release. Now at CanJam RMAF, the Chord Dave gets a performance boost with the Chord Electronics Blue Mark II upscaler, which when used with the Chord Dave enables a 1,015,808 tap length filter versus the 164,000 tap length filter in the Dave alone. Now, the few times I've heard the Dave Blue Mark II combo, I was absolutely blown away, especially by the holographic solid object imaging. I still haven't spent a lot of time with the Blue Mark II upscaler, which is something I definitely want to do. Anyway, make sure to stop by Chord Electronics exhibit at CanJam RMAF 2017 to hear all of this. iFi Audio will be exhibiting, and I'm looking forward to hearing what their current lineup sounds like. On HeadFi's forums, there's a lot of positive conversations happening around the iFi IDSD Black Label, which is their flagship portable DAC amp combo, and it's something I haven't heard yet. The IDSD Black Label's DAC will decode PCM up to 32768, DXD, and DSD up to DSD 512. Its amp section delivers up to 4,000 milliwatts into 16 ohms, yet with its built-in iFi IE match technology, you can use the IDSD Black Label with even the most sensitive IEMs. I've got to hear this one for myself at CanJam. One product of theirs that I can personally attest to as being fantastic is this, their flagship headphone amp, the iCan Pro. This is perhaps the single most versatile headphone amp available right now. Within this chassis are two individual solid-state and tube amplification sections, and you can select one or the other with just the flip of a switch. It has both single-ended and balanced headphone outputs through a variety of jacks. It also has IE match built in, so you can use the most sensitive IEMs with it. Yet it's 14,000 milliwatts of max output. You should be able to drive just about any non-electrostatic headphone in your collection with it. Even the Pro iCan's tube section, which uses two excellent General Electric 5670 tubes, allows you to select between two different signatures, one of them with a more tube-like sound. The solid-state section is as serious as the tube section. It uses JFETs and is fully discrete Class A. The iFi Pro iCan is one of my favorite desktop headphone amps, bar none, for its performance and for its unmatched versatility, that ability to go from a diaphanous, delicate touch to pile-driving power. Anyway, check out the Pro iCan and the rest of iFi's line at CanJam RMAF. Sure, we'll be exhibiting at CanJam at Rocky Mountain Audio Fest, and to say I'm over the moon about that would be an understatement. It's been a good long time since Shure exhibited at a CanJam because their focus the last several years has been pro audio, but that hasn't stopped them from making in-ear monitors and over-ear headphones that are immensely popular with audio enthusiasts as well as the pro audio market. And it also hasn't stopped them from crafting the best-sounding in-ear monitor I've yet heard, but I'll get back to that one shortly. Now, I know many of you probably own one or more models of Shure earphones, and Shure just announced a new product that has been requested by many of Shure's customers, an accessory to Bluetooth wireless enable Shure's popular earphones. This is the Shure Bluetooth enabled remote plus mic accessory cable, also called the RMCE BT1. Designed to work with Shure's earphones, the RMCE BT1 has MMCX connectors. It has multi-point pairing with support for pairing up to 2 devices, and you can expect up to 8 hours of listening from a single full charge, and in a pinch, 15 minutes of charging delivers up to 2 hours of listening time. Now, as one would expect from Shure, a company with tremendous experience in pro audio wireless, the RMCE BT1 maintains an excellent rock-solid wireless connection. Shure rates it for up to 30 feet of range. My experience suggests that's conservative. I'm getting no drops in an office with interior walls at distances that exceed that. I've been using the RMCE BT1 with the Shure SE215 and the SE846. Its performance exceeds my expectations given the price. Now, while you obviously will give up some resolution going from wired to Bluetooth, the RMCE BT1 still lets more of the SE846's character come through wirelessly than I was expecting. Speaking of Shure's earphones, expect to be able to hear their entire earphone lineup at CanJam at RMAF. One of my 2 favorites, the Shure SE846. It has the inspired and ingenious engineering of an acoustic low-pass filter that provides 4 inches of high acoustic mass pathway. This allows it to acoustically enable low-frequency roll-off beginning at around 75 Hz. It's a genius design. We did a Head-Fi TV episode about the SE846, and it still stands as tall at its price as it did when it was released. Then there's the flagship Shure KSC 1500, a full-range electrostatic in-ear monitor system that remains the very best in-ear I've yet heard, of any type at any price, universal fit or custom. The KSC 1500 was a passion project at Shure that took around 8 years to develop, with around 40 people involved in the project over the life of its development. We did an entire Head-Fi TV episode about the KSC 1500. It's still my in-ear reference. Heck, it's one of my top references of all types of headphones, period. Make sure to try the KSC 1500 at CanJam. I'd suggest using Shure's foam tips. In my experience, that gives the most natural and timbrely rich and lifelike presentation that this system can deliver. Yes, it's probably very obvious by now that the KSC 1500 still amazes me to this day. Finally, though earphones are the first thing many of us think of when we think of Shure, they also make some wonderful over-ear headphones, most of which are just as at home in a studio environment as they are in a premium headphone rig. My favorite among Shure's over-ear headphones is, by a margin, the closed-back Shure SRH 1540. It images beautifully for a closed-back headphone. It has meaty, impactful bass presence, rich mids, and a silky high end. In addition to its sound quality, the SRH 1540's Alcantara ear pads provide comfort for days. It's an exceedingly comfortable headphone to wear. The SRH 1540 is one of those headphones that, in my opinion, it gets lost in this increasingly competitive headphone landscape, primarily because it's just not new anymore. Anyway, when shopping for closed-back headphones, the SRH 1540 should definitely not be overlooked. Anyway, make sure to stop by Shure's exhibit at CanJam at RMAF to hear everything we just talked about and more. And hey, Shure, welcome back to CanJam. ZMF Headphones will be exhibiting at CanJam at Rocky Mountain Audio Fest, and since Zach Merbach from ZMF Headphones is here at Head-Fi HQ right now, I thought I'd let him tell you what they'll be showing at CanJam.
Hey everybody, Zach Merbach here at Head-Fi headquarters, and I'm here to tell you about some new exciting things at ZMF Headphones that we'll be showing at RMAF this fall in Denver. First thing I want to tell you about is the ZMF Auteur, which is our new open-backed headphone. Everyone's kind of come to know ZMF house sound as kind of a warm, resolving, very engaging sound, and now we've kind of taken that to another level with our open-backed headphone that contains nice neutrality, resolve, open sound stage, and clarity that is known for in open headphones. It's going to be available in teakwood, and it'll also be available in a limited edition run of 100 units of African blackwood. Here you can see on my left is a version fitted with brass, and on my right a version fitted with black anodized aluminum. Next thing I want to show you is our custom OCC braided ZMF cables that'll be available this fall, and you're definitely going to want to spec that out, not only just for ZMF headphones but also for other headphone manufacturers. Lastly, we have the Metrum Amethyst DAC amp combo. This is a really cool unit because it's Metrum's first foray into DAC amps, and it contains a fantastic DAC section, and you can also use a headphone out to power just about any headphone with a really nice non-oversampling DAC sound that's smooth and engaging and a good listen. I'm excited to see you all at the RMAF table and to see what you think of our new products. Thank you.
64 Audio will be at CanJam at RMAF 2017, and they're doing something really groovy at their exhibit. They're going to have two mystery IEMs there called simply Products X and Y. Now, both of these mystery products will be available at their exhibit to listen to. What they're asking from you is that those who hear X and Y post their first impressions and a guess about what's inside in terms of driver configurations. Now, participants will post on the forum thread titled 64 Audio Apex TIA. These products will be officially announced and released in November. Now, those that guess correctly will be entered into a drawing to win the products and be the first to own them. The drawing will be done in early November, right before product launch. 64 Audio will have more details and terms at their exhibit at CanJam at RMAF. Make sure to stop by and try your hand at solving the mysteries of X and Y, maybe winning a new IEM model from 64 Audio in the process. Of course, 64 Audio will also have their entire lineup at the show, like the U18 Czar and the TIA Forte you see here. These are their two flagship universal fit IEMs. The 64 Audio U18 Czar is the first universal fit earphone with 18 balanced armature drivers per ear. It's in an 8 low, 8 mid, 1 high mid, and 1 TIA high driver configuration. TIA, by the way, TIA, stands for tubeless in-ear audio. With TIA, 64 Audio is opening up the balanced armature enclosure, and this exposes the diaphragm so it can directly radiate. They say this configuration eliminates the need for conventional sound tubes and dampers. Now, the U18 Czar loaner they sent us sounds very good, the 18 drivers sounding as one, so high marks to 64 Audio for that. The U18 Czar's bass is impactful, the mid's neutral, the treble incisive. Of the two flagships, though, the one that just wows me every time I hear it is the TIA Forte. Of the two, the TIA Forte is simply more in line with my personal sound preference. Rich in tone and detail, big imaging, and extremely cohesive. The TIA Forte's driver complement is 1 electrodynamic low, 1 TIA mid, 1 high mid, and 1 TIA high driver per side. That's 4 drivers per side, and they're working so well together that the TIA Forte is easily one of the very best universal fit in-ears I've yet heard at any price. Anyway, make sure you do the 64 Audio Mystery IEMs demonstration, post your guesses in the thread for your chance to win one, but also make sure to listen to 64 Audio's full lineup, and especially this magnificent TIA Forte. Ultrastone will sometimes launch new products in Japan, and when they've done so at the Tokyo Headphone Festival and I go to listen to their new products, I usually have to wait in a long line. Now, sometimes the lines are so long that they literally time your listening sessions, usually allowing a minute or two each. Now, if they didn't do that, the wait could be hours. Ultrastone's headphones are obviously quite popular with the premium headphone audio community in Japan, and Japanese audio enthusiasts are among the most dedicated, discerning audiophiles out there. In Japan, fine craftsmanship is tremendously appreciated, and some of Ultrastone's higher-end models have insane handwork put into their creations. This is one of them. It's the new Ultrastone Edition 8EX. The ear cups are of insane build quality. Their outside surfaces are highly polished and then chrome-plated, and then coated with a wear-resistant PVD hardcoat. These Ultrastone logos are engraved onto these polished ceramic inlays, and the solid metal mounts look like suspension parts from an ultra-luxury car. Even the magnetic ear pad mount feels more precise than others of this type I've used. Speaking of the ear pads, the leather used for them, as well as for the inside of the solid aluminum headband, comes from Ethiopian long-haired sheep. I couldn't pick an Ethiopian sheep out of a mob of mixed sheep, but I can tell you with some authority now that they have very soft skin. In terms of sound, the Ultrastone 8EX uses a newer version of Ultrastone's S-Logic technology called S-Logic EX. In addition to the decentralized driver positioning of S-Logic, S-Logic EX also incorporates a funnel-shaped arrangement oriented downwards toward the front. Now, this funnel-shaped structure places the transducer farther from the ear. I believe the attempt is to engage more of the outer ear as opposed to firing directly into the ear. This is supposed to give greater three-dimensionality and sense of space, and upon first listen, you do notice that space and distance, and it takes an adjustment period, at least for me. After listening to the Edition 8EX for an extended period of time, going back to a more typical headphone design does seem for a moment very closed in, especially with other closed backs. Now, these just arrived, so I want to spend some extended listening time with this very interesting S-Logic EX design. Ultrastone will also be bringing their new Nouse, an ultra-compact 24192 DAC amp that's compatible with all mobile devices, including iOS and Android. I like that something so ultra-compact can decode up to 24192 and not just 2496. Anyway, make sure to check out the Ultrastone Edition 8EX and the Ultrastone Nouse DAC amp and the entire Ultrastone lineup at CanJam at RMAF. FIO will be at CanJam at RMAF, and they have such a broad family of audio products that they could practically do a show on their own. Now, I've expressed my enthusiasm for FIO in several of our videos, and today's no exception. FIO does more than make some of the best affordably priced premium audio gear. They also at times seek to genuinely challenge the state-of-the-art price no object gear, but still at far more affordable prices than you'd expect for what they deliver. A perfect example of this approach is the new FiiO X7 Mark II portable digital audio player. With the FiiO X7 Mark II, FiiO didn't just set out to improve the original X7, they are, as I said earlier, looking to challenge the very best digital audio players at any price. With this latest generation X7, the operational speed seems noticeably faster, perhaps due in part to the doubling of its memory from 1 gig to 2 gigs. In terms of storage, FiiO has increased its internal capacity from 32 gigs to 64 gigs and includes 2 SD card slots versus 1 on the previous generation player. The X7 Mark II continues the X7's tradition of swappable amp modules, and thankfully the one that comes with it is outstanding and versatile. It's called the AM3A and has both unbalanced and balanced outputs. It employs the AD8620 JFET op-amp and a custom-developed op-amp called the OPA926 that was developed just for the X7 Mark II. Other improvements include an upgraded DAC. They went from the ESS 9018S in the previous generation to the ESS 9028 Pro. Now, I don't think many digital audio players are yet using the 9028 Pro, so FiiO seems a bit ahead of the game on that one. With the X7 Mark II, FiiO has included optical output in addition to the coaxial output from the original X7, and that also further improves versatility. The Wi-Fi on the X7 Mark II is vastly improved over its predecessor and one of the better performing digital audio players I have in this regard. Now, this is very important to me and I'm sure also to others who frequently stream audio content. Simply put, the strength and speed of the connection has been improved significantly. Now, speaking of streaming, the FiiO X7 Mark II has become one of my most used digital audio players with its support of Tidal offline storage and playback, and I use Tidal a lot. We have some of the best audio players here at the office, but not many support Tidal offline. For me, that feature is such a big deal that the X7 Mark II has again become one of my most constant companions. I could go on, but you just have to use it and hear the FiiO X7 Mark II for yourself, and you'll be able to do that at CanJam RMAF 2017. And it won't be the only excellent player FiiO will be showing there. Also look for the FiiO X5 3rd Gen. FiiO will also be showing their in-ear monitor models at CanJam RMAF. This is the new FiiO F5. The F5 uses a single titanium diaphragm, 13.6mm dynamic driver per side. The F5's housings are made of anodized and galvanized aluminum alloy, and it comes with 2 cables, one terminated in 3.5mm for unbalanced connections and a 2.5mm balanced cable. Again, FiiO sets some of the highest standards for value in audio engineering for the dollar, and you can hear all their gear for yourself at FiiO's exhibit at CanJam RMAF. While the primary purpose of this preview video is to share with you some highlights and new products that'll be in the CanJam area of Rocky Mountain Audio Fest, remember that there's a lot of other amazing gear and music to listen to all over the Audio Fest. In fact, this year Sony will not be in the CanJam area of RMAF, but they will be showing their headphones and personal audio line at the Sony exhibit in the main RMAF show in the Bluebell room, so you definitely don't want to miss Sony there. In my opinion, the last couple of years have been a whirlwind resurgence for Sony when it comes to premium audio. Last year, their Signature Series line gave us the most exciting audio gear from Sony in many years, and that line will be available to hear at Sony's exhibit in the Bluebell room. Now, the Sony TAZH1ES desktop DAC amp, which is from the Signature Series, is easily one of the most used, most popular pieces with us here at HeadFi HQ. Since its arrival, it's been plugged in and plugged into at one of our office desks or homes pretty much 100% of the time. Now, the Sony TAZH1ES can decode almost any digital format you want to feed it, including PCM up to 32.768 and DSD native up to 22.4 MHz. As DAC versatility goes, the TAZH1ES is a beast with both unbalanced and balanced headphone outputs, including the excellent Pentacon connectors. What do I recommend you plug into the TAZH1ES? Start with the obvious, Sony's flagship MDR Z1R headphones. I think the MDR Z1R is perhaps my current favorite closed-back over-ear headphone at any price. The bass is rich, certainly bloomier than neutral, but for listening pleasure, that happens to be my thing. The Z1R's imaging is also superb, open-sounding, very big. Again, it's my favorite closed-back right now, so find that big MDR Z1R, listen to it. Sony will also have its Walkman models, including the NWW-M1A and their flagship NWW-M1Z. These two models are part of Sony's Signature Series, and they're built to standards and even use internal components that look to me to have more in common with full-size premium audio gear than portable. The NWW-M1Z, it's like having an old Sony SCD-1 that I can carry with me. Lush yet hugely resolving, and with DSP features I actually use and enjoy the sound of. Okay though, if the prices of the Signature Series Walkman models scare you, Sony will also be showing its just announced, more affordable, purest Walkman model called the NW-ZX300. The ZX300 looks to me like a Signature Series Walkman in miniature. I also like that the ZX300 is coming with MQA support and USB DAC functionality. I haven't handled or heard the ZX300 yet, so I'm definitely looking forward to checking it out at RMAF. Sony is one of a few companies who's helped Bluetooth wireless earn a seat at the premium audio table, especially last year with the LDAC-enabled Sony MDR1000X. What the MDR1000X also did, by the way, was trounce the Bose Quiet Comfort 35 in terms of active noise canceling and sound quality. I've put six-figure miles on both of those headphones, and there's no doubt to me that the Sony is the better of the two. At RMAF this year, Sony is going to be showing the just-announced successor to the 1000X. It's called the WH-1000XM2, and don't ask me how they come up with these names. Anyway, my first time flying with the WH-1000XM2 won't be until I'm flying to Denver to see you at RMAF, but I expect it'll cancel at least as much noise as the original 1000X. Sony's improved on the ANC circuit on the new one, including the addition of atmospheric pressure optimizing to deliver optimized sound at high altitude. There are actually a lot of updates and features that we won't have time to go over here at the moment, but I do need to mention one more thing that Sony included with the WH-1000XM2, and that's support for aptX HD. Yes, LDAC and aptX HD, currently the two best standards I've used for premium quality over Bluetooth, and now in one headphone. So if I'm using a Sony Walkman, I have LDAC. With Astell&Kern players, I have aptX HD. Sony has packed technology into this WH-1000XM2 for all the right reasons, and it comes together beautifully into a headphone that will no doubt be toted around with me almost everywhere. If you want to hear the effectiveness of what is currently the industry's best active noise canceling, combined with sound quality I didn't even think possible from Bluetooth just a few years ago, make sure to check out the Sony WH-1000XM2. And by the way, if this headphone's too big for you, make sure to check out the in-ear sibling of the WH-1000XM2, the one I'm wearing around my neck. It's called the Sony WI-1000X. It's obviously a neckband type wireless in-ear model, and it's packed with the same technology that's found in the WH-1000XM2. When I'm packing ultralight for a day trip and don't have room for this, then I'll pack the WI-1000X. And this is another one you just have to check out at RMAF at the Sony exhibit in the Bluebell room. Again, that's in the main RMAF show area, not in the CanJam area. Hi-Fi Man will be at CanJam at RMAF 2017, and there'll be a lot to listen to at their exhibit, including some recent production releases. Now, this one here, this is an absolute have-to-hear headphone if you're going to be at CanJam. This is their new flagship planar magnetic headphone called the Susvara. It's very expensive indeed, but the Susvara from end to end is more linear, more resolving, and more like an electrostatic headphone in its ability to convey microdynamics and texture than perhaps any other non-electrostatic headphone we have here. Now, these qualities, combined with its relatively light weight and comfort, make the Susvara my current non-electrostatic high standard and reference. Now, if the price tag doesn't stop you in your tracks, and, well, maybe even if it does stop you in your tracks, make sure to audition the Hi-Fi Man Susvara at CanJam. Now, while the HE1000 version 2 has moved down a peg in the Hi-Fi Man lineup due to the new flagship Susvara, it's still a strong competitor for its new flagship sibling. Only the HE1000 comes in at half the Susvara's price. No, at its best, the HE1000 can't quite reach the dizzying heights of performance that the Susvara can at its best, but it's still a lot easier to drive than the Susvara, so it's more versatile than Hi-Fi Man's new flagship. And again, the HE1000 V2 is half the Susvara's price. This is the Edition X version 2, and if you're looking to build a reasonably priced desktop rig that approaches flagship-type performance, then consider auditioning the Edition X version 2, as it's so sensitive and versatile that it's one of the least demanding headphones at the level of resolution that it provides. In other words, it's an easy pairing for when your budget for electronics might be a bit tight, but when your budget does open up for upgrades, the Edition X's performance should scale very well as you upgrade the rest of your system. Okay, if you're interested in ultra high-end gear, Hi-Fi Man will be showing their $50,000 electrostatic flagship system at CanJam called the Shangri-La. This is just the headphone, it's an entire system. Now, the Shangri-La represents the very best headphone system that Hi-Fi Man could engineer at any price without limitations. It is one of the best systems I've yet heard, and it better be for that price. You can hear the Shangri-La for yourself at CanJam at RMAF. I want to know what you think of it. Hi-Fi Man will also have its new in-ear monitors at CanJam at RMAF. This is the new Hi-Fi Man RE800 in-ear monitor. The RE800 is a single dynamic driver per side design that uses Hi-Fi Man's new topology driver or topology diaphragm technology. This involves a nanoparticle coating applied to the surface of the diaphragm. Hi-Fi Man claims that by varying the surface pattern and shape, compound used, and the thickness of this coating of nanomaterial, they can manipulate the sound wave formation to achieve a desired audio result. The new RE2000, which is Hi-Fi Man's new flagship universal fit IEM, is also a single dynamic driver per side design, and it also uses the nanomaterial deposition technology, the topology diaphragm that I mentioned earlier. Whereas the RE800 has a comparatively more neutral, flatter sound signature, the RE2000 has a richer tonality, more bass presence, richer mids, and I enjoy them both but the RE2000's meatier, smoother sound is more to my taste, as I tend to prefer richer tonality combined with strong resolving ability. Now, I've been using the RE2000 a lot lately, so make sure to listen to it for yourself to see if it suits you as well as it does me. Anyway, make sure to hear both of these new in-ear monitors at Hi-Fi Man's exhibit if you're in the market for a high-end universal fit IEM, and also to hear the rest of the Hi-Fi Man lineup at CanJam RMAF 2017. Campfire Audio and ALO Audio will be exhibiting at CanJam. Last year we did an entire HeadFi TV episode about the release of the Campfire Audio Vega, Dorado, and Lyra 2 in-ear monitors. The Vega remains one of my favorite universal fits with its uncanny, visceral, lifelike physicality. With the Vega, it's more than just emphasized bass. It's a sense of solidity of the music in the soundstage across the audio band. If you haven't heard the Vega, make sure to do so. Campfire Audio also very recently released a new IEM model called the Polaris. The Polaris is a hybrid design with an 8.5mm dynamic driver and a balanced armature high-frequency driver. The dynamic driver has 3D printed precision-tuned chambers on either side of it. The balanced armature driver discards traditional tube and damper tuning systems for something Campfire calls their tuned acoustic expansion chamber. This 3D printed chamber provides the acoustic tuning without compression for more extended open highs. Using the included foam ear tips, I've found the Polaris to have a gorgeous, rich bass presentation, but it's bass that remains taut sounding throughout. Also, the 3D printed chamber for the high-frequency driver must be doing its job because the Polaris has sparkling highs and nice open imaging for an IEM. I want to also mention that the Polaris is beautiful to look at. I hope our photos give you at least some idea how striking the color combination is and how excellent its quality of build is. Campfire has mastered the in-ear monitor game these last couple of years. The Polaris is another fantastic model that just further strengthens their already formidable IEM portfolio. Campfire's sister company, ALO Audio, will also be part of the exhibit, and they just released a new cable that matches up perfectly with the Campfire Audio IEMs. This is the new 16-wire cable from ALO Audio called the Gold 16. The Gold 16 uses high-purity copper with gold. Now, I've been using a Penticon-terminated Gold 16 cable with the Campfire Polaris plugged into the Sony NW-WM1Z Walkman, and it's an absolutely beautiful sounding setup. The Gold 16 is available with 2-pin or MMCX on the earphone side, and 3.5mm, 2.5mm balanced, 3.5mm 4-pole balanced, and Penticon 4.4mm balanced on the source side. Between Campfire and ALO, they'll practically have an audio show of their own there, so be sure to stop by their exhibit at CanJam at RMAF. Effect Audio just announced a new flagship cable for IEMs called Horus. It uses high strand count Ono continuous cast gold-plated silver conductors. The Horus also has Effect Audio's ferrite guard, which is intended to shield the cable from interference, among other things. The Horus uses a plug they developed with Oyaide called P-squared plug. It has both palladium and platinum plating. Now, the Horus uses the same EA Ultra Flexi insulation that this Lionheart cable uses, and I really dig it. It makes for a supple cable that's not grippy and it isn't prone to tangling. I want to compare this Lionheart cable on my Noble Prestige to the new Horus cable at the show. Effect Audio has been a very respected audio cable maker in the very discerning Asian hi-fi markets. I'm glad to see them continue to work to increase their business presence outside of Asia. Make sure to check out Effect Audio at the show. THX will be at CanJam, and they'll be showing their THX AAA headphone amplifier technology. THX is licensing out their AAA headphone amp technology, not selling it directly to consumers. There are 6 variations, the lower power versions of which are expected to be available in chip form. Now, if you're into audio measurements, you'll probably find this very, very interesting. The THX AAA headphone amp is the best measuring headphone amplifier we've ever measured on our Audio Precision APX 555 analyzer in terms of noise floor and distortion, and by a margin. We've talked about THX's AAA amps before, but they certainly bear mentioning again. And if you want to hear what the best measuring headphone amps in the world sound like, plug your headphones into their AAA amps at their exhibit. JH Audio will have their entire lineup at the show. Which of their many IEMs should you start with? I'll say Lola. Lola is the latest model in JH Audio's Siren series and has a very unique driver complement. As a hybrid, it uses both dynamic drivers and balanced armature drivers. However, unlike every other hybrid, Lola uses the dynamic drivers to cover the mid-range, specifically from 200 Hz to 3 kHz. The 2 dynamic mid drivers on each side are facing each other in a tuned phase-correct bandpass enclosure that's custom 3D printed in JH Audio's labs. For lows, there are dual armatures covering 10 Hz to 200 Hz, and for highs, there are quad armatures covering 3 kHz to 20 kHz. This results in a silky-sounding mid-range that makes it one of the top mid-band performers to my ears. As such, the Lola is my first recommendation for what to listen to at JH's exhibit. Brian, who goes by the username Axel Chloris on the forums and who works here at HeadFi HQ, he has a different recommendation. His primary go-to IEM has been the 8-driver per side JH Audio JH13 V2 Pro. He thinks that's what you should start with. Regardless of which one you pick up first, make sure to listen to JH's lineup at CanJam at RMAF. Unique Melody sent us a pair of their new ME1 full-range planar magnetic in-ear monitors. Unfortunately, it arrived pretty late in our shooting schedule, so I didn't get to spend a whole lot of time with it. In what little time I've had to listen to the ME1, my impressions are that the Unique Melody ME1's tonal balance is what I describe as subjectively flat, perhaps even just south of neutral in the bass to my ears. Now, I've had fun with them in the short time they've been here, and I'd like to try them again for a longer session to see how well they respond to EQ. I know Unique Melody has a rather thorough lineup of IEMs, so I imagine they'll have the ME1 and a lot of other earphones to listen to at their exhibit. Audio-Technica has a new flagship headphone, the ATH-ADX 5000, and it looks sexy. Now, Audio-Technica calls the ATH-ADX 5000 their reference Beyerdynamic open-back headphones. It has 58mm dynamic drivers, a high-rigidity tungsten-coated diaphragm, honeycomb-punched housing, and it's hand-assembled in Japan. Yes, I know it has a whole lot of sexy, but I have no idea how it sounds, and that's why I'm going to Audio-Technica's exhibit to listen to it. What I do know for certain is that Audio-Technica does make some fantastic aptX HD-enabled wireless headphones. In fact, their ATH-DSR7BT and the ATH-DSR9BT, these were the first two aptX HD-enabled headphones ever to arrive at HeadFi HQ. Even though several companies have since released aptX HD headphones, the ATH-DSR9BT, in terms of sheer resolution, it's still the best-sounding Bluetooth over-ear that we have here. It's not a full-featured travel headphone, no ANC, no DSP, nothing like that. It's more like a purist audiophile headphone that just happens to be wireless. Make sure to stop by Audio-Technica's exhibit to hear their new flagship ATH-ADX 5000, their wonderful wireless headphones, and the rest of their lineup at CanJam at RMAF. In addition to their increasingly popular in-ears, the magnesium, titanium, and beryllium, Periodic Audio will be introducing a new portable amp called the Nickel. The Nickel is the first amplifier from Periodic Audio, and it's made to be fed by your smartphone's headphone output. Now, lest you worry about the concept of double amping, Periodic Audio points out that it presents the phone with a 10 kilo ohm input impedance. This effectively pulls zero power from the phone. This results in the phone then essentially operating as a pure DAC only. The Nickel has a smart turn-on feature, so it only turns on when an input and output are present. It can output around 250 milliwatts per channel into a 32 ohm load. This versus most cell phones, which can struggle to source more than 30 milliwatts into 32 ohms. It's only 2 inches long, 1.25 inches wide, and a ½ inch thick, and it weighs about ½ an ounce. And the Nickel is rated to run about 8 to 10 hours per charge. Periodic Audio's Dan Wiggins has been immensely helpful to us in terms of mentoring and advice with audio measurements, so I have high hopes for the Nickel, and we'll give it a listen at the show. At the Tokyo Headphone Festival last year, I came across a very interesting and very large headphone. It's called the CrossZone CZ1. Here's what it does, and I hope I'm explaining this correctly. It's trying to give you the same sense that you get when listening to loudspeakers in a room. When listening to loudspeakers in a room, there's crossfeed. That is, the left ear hears the right speaker, albeit very slightly delayed, and the right ear hears the left speaker, again slightly delayed. The sound is also reflected in a room, and so can come from several locations, including reflecting behind you before reaching your ears. The CrossZone CZ1 tries to reproduce these things you get when listening to speakers in a room. Crossfeed is accomplished acoustically in the CZ1, and I don't have time in this segment to describe the mechanisms in detail here, but it's not done through signal processing, but again, acoustically, with multiple drivers and acoustic delay chambers. There's also a duct in each ear for reflected sound. I'm going to sit down for longer than the very brief listen I got in Japan and see how some of my favorite music sounds through the CrossZone CZ1. Make sure you try it too. Final, formerly known as Final Audio Design, will be at CanJam at RMAF, and they're going to be doing something very cool, unlike anything I've seen at a CanJam as far as I can recall. Final is going to be hosting an earphone assembly workshop at CanJam at RMAF. During this workshop, you'll work under the guidance of an instructor to assemble a set of Final earphones. This event-limited original model of IEM that you'll be assembling uses machined brass housings. There are also 256 possible tunings through the use of the multitude of tuning parts they'll have available, so you'll be able to tune your own assembled Final IEM to your preference. Now, there is a small fee for the earphone assembly workshop. It's just $55. That's a special price for this year's CanJam at RMAF attendees. And of course, you get to keep the IEMs you build. Now, I love this idea, and I can't wait to build my own Final in-ear monitors at CanJam. How groovy is that? Anyway, you have to register for the earphone assembly workshop, and to do so, you can email info@finalaudioUSA.com or call 1-800-506-0628. In addition to the earphone assembly workshop, Final will also have their full lineup at their exhibit. Now, of all their in-ears, my favorite is the FIBA SST. I think the FIBA SST is the most well-balanced, perhaps even the most resolving of any in-ears I've yet heard from Final. Now, Headfire Axel Chloris, his real name is Brian. He also works here now full-time at HeadFi HQ. He made me promise to tell you that one of his favorite high-value IEMs is the very affordable Final E2000. He says for its price, he can't think of anything he'd recommend more. He says it sounds balanced with a bit of fun. in-ears aren't all Final is bringing to CanJam. Make sure to also hear the Final D8000 planar magnetic headphones. Now, we've had this very early prototype of the Final D8000, and it's fantastic. The D8000 is a planar magnetic headphone. They're calling it AFDS headphones, AFDS standing for Air Film Damping System. Now, a tremendous amount of R&D went into this unique new driver, and the result, even in this early prototype, sounds gorgeous. Now, they're intending to have the D8000 on sale very soon, and they promised me the sound quality has improved over this prototype here, and that's saying something. Anyway, make sure to register for Final's Earphone Assembly Workshop and to also hear all that Final is bringing with them to CanJam at Rocky Mountain Audio Fest 2017. In the last several years, Klipsch has deservedly enjoyed a lot of success with their very good family of in-ear monitors. When it came to over-ear headphones, however, it seemed Klipsch was content to dabble, to do little more than dip their pinky toes in the water. However, behind the scenes these last couple years, Klipsch committed to changing that, to connecting their headphone products more directly to their deep history as a premium loudspeaker manufacturer, to finally develop and design premium over-ear headphones. Now, the first headphone from this new commitment was previewed at CES this year, and now they're getting close to its release. This here is the new Klipsch Heritage HP3, and it's as lovely sounding as it is good looking and well built. And it is well built, of stamped steel, machined aluminum, solid wood that's beautifully finished, genuine sheepskin, and gorgeous grills made from the same grill material used on Klipsch's $16,000 70th anniversary edition Klipschorn loudspeakers. The sheathing on the cables also looks like something from a bygone era and adds still more charm to it all. The Klipsch Heritage HP3 is a semi-open back dynamic headphone that uses a custom 52mm version of the Foster biocellulose driver. This headphone is a recent arrival to Head-Fi HQ, but I put enough time on it to know that I've found my new favorite current production Foster biocellulose drivered headphone. I imagine it's due in part to the HP3's semi-open back nature that the Klipsch Heritage HP3's imaging is open and airy. And even though it throws an airy image, it has a solid grounded sound with its hearty but controlled bass, the sort of gently applied bass emphasis that I tend to favor. Now, there's some nice sparkle up there too, but it's definitely not bright to my ears. I'd say it tends toward articulate and smooth. This is the kind of headphone I wanted to see from Klipsch, and I'm excited to know it's coming soon. Make sure to hear the stunning Klipsch Heritage HP3 at CanJam. Klipsch will also be showing their new DAC headphone amp that's called simply the Klipsch Heritage Headphone Amplifier. The headphone amplifier's DAC section is built around the ES9018 K2M DAC. It'll decode PCM up to 24192, DSD up to 11.2 MHz. Its amp section is a dual Class AB configuration with outputs for both unbalanced and balanced headphone drive. In balanced mode, the Klipsch Heritage headphone amp will drive up to 1440 milliwatts into 32 ohms. That's plenty of drive for their HP3 and most other headphones you're likely to consider using with it. In terms of build quality, materials, and styling, the headphone amplifier is just as inspired as the HP3 is. A lot of wood with metal hardware. The audio switching is relay-based, and the controls are actuated by big-weighted, old-fashioned, long-throw switches and knobs. It's a tactile wonderland for such a compact piece. Definitely make sure to stop by Klipsch's exhibit at CanJam at RMAF to hear the outstanding Heritage HP3 and the Heritage headphone amplifier. Over an hour later, and that's still just a fraction of what you'll be able to hear and see at CanJam at RMAF this year. Again, CanJam at RMAF is happening October 6th through the 8th, 2017 at the Denver Marriott Tech Center in Denver, Colorado. Of course, we didn't have time to cover every exhibitor, so scrolling on your screen now is a list of all the companies who will be exhibiting at CanJam at Rocky Mountain Audio Fest 2017. Also, we want to thank Marjorie Baumert, Ramsey Thurber, the Colorado Audio Society, and everyone else who's a part of the Rocky Mountain Audio Fest team. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in Denver and on the forums at headfi.org.